Welcome to the Broken Bayonets channel, where imagination is the weapon, and every detail is a deliberate lie. You stand in the shadows of history, not as a spectator, but as a participant. Here, the fog of war is a painted canvas, the roar of an advancing army is a recording played on a loop, and the tank barreling toward you is filled with nothing but air. The past isn't a static collection of facts. It's a living, breathing stage, and you are one of its principal actors, a soldier in an army of ghosts. Have you ever wondered if the past is really the past, or if the echoes of these elaborate deceptions still ripple through our understanding of what truly happened? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you find the content useful. In the comments below, share which ghost legions of World War II history you know, and which historical topics fascinate you the most. Now, let's go back in time and walk in the footsteps of legend. The air in early March 1945 tastes of cold mud and diesel fumes. You pull the collar of your field jacket tighter, the damp wool scratching at your neck as you lean against the side of a deuce and a half. It's been days of waiting, a strange, tense quiet that feels more unnerving than the distant rumble of artillery. Your world is a palette of grays and browns, the skeletal trees clawing at a perpetually overcast sky, the churned earth of rural Germany, the olive drab of every vehicle and uniform around you. You are a soldier in the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, an outfit so secret that your very existence is a classified document. Around you are not hardened riflemen, but architects, sound engineers, illustrators from Pratt, and art students from Philadelphia. It's a strange brotherhood bound by a shared talent for fabrication on a military scale. Your job isn't to take the fight to the enemy, but to bring a phantom fight to them, a carefully constructed illusion of sound and fury signifying nothing but your own ingenuity. The news arrives not as a triumphant broadcast, but as a ripple of hushed, incredulous whispers passing from one officer's tent to the next. A word, a name, repeats itself until it becomes a You gather with your platoon as a lieutenant unfolds a map on the hood of a jeep, its surface already collecting beads of moisture. His finger stabs at a point on the blue line of the Rhine. At 1550 hours on March 7th, he says, his voice low and tight with significance, elements of the 9th Armored Division seized the Ludendorff bridge. He pauses, letting the weight of the statement settle. It's a miracle. A 1 in a million shot. The demolition charges failed to detonate properly. A miracle for the Allied war effort, perhaps, but a glaring, unmissable target for the Wehrmacht. It's a prize that General Eisenhower himself called one of those rare and fleeting opportunities which occasionally arise in war and which, if grasped, have incalculable effects on future operations. But a prize so valuable is also a monumental liability. Every German gun, plane, and soldier within 100 miles will now be directed at that one fragile steel artery into the heart of their country. And that is where you come in. While the 9th Armored and the combat engineers pour across the real bridge, solidifying their precarious foothold, you are given a different task. Your mission is not to cross the Rhine, but to create the illusion of another crossing, miles away. You are to draw the enemy's eyes, their spotter planes, their intelligence officers, and most importantly, their artillery, away from Remagen. You must become a bigger, more enticing target, a ghost bridgehead. The mission is codenamed Operation Thunderbolt. The name feels heavy, electric. It's a perfect piece of misdirection, suggesting overwhelming force when your entire division's strength lies in its profound lack of it. It's a bluff played on a continental scale, with thousands of lives hanging on your ability to be convincingly unreal. You listen as the plan takes shape. Two entire divisions, the 30th and 79th Infantry, are scheduled to cross the Rhine in a massive assault. Operation Flashpoint. But not for another 2 weeks. Your job is to make the Germans believe it's happening now. You and the other men of the 23rd will simulate the arrival and preparation of both divisions. It's a staggering task. You have to conjure the presence of 30,000 men, their tanks, their artillery, and their entire logistical tail out of thin air. It's a mission that requires a specific kind of soldier, which is why your unit is filled with men whose average IQ is a documented 119, 10 points higher than the army average. You aren't just following orders, you are expected to improvise, to think like a stage manager, a sound designer, and a con artist all at once. The Germans are desperate and fighting on their home soil. They will not be easily fooled. As the briefing concludes, a quiet hum of activity replaces the stagnant waiting. You are not checking ammunition or cleaning rifle bores. Instead, you see men carefully inspecting rubber patches on inflatable Shermans. You watch as sound engineers calibrate massive speakers mounted on half-tracks, checking wiring and vacuum tubes. You overhear radio operators practicing their fist, the unique keying style of another division's operators, so their fake Morse code transmissions will be indistinguishable from the real thing. This is the strange reality of your war. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built, layer by layer. You are not preparing for battle, you are preparing for a performance, and the fate of the real soldiers at Remagen is your opening night review. The trucks begin to rumble to life, their engines a real sound in a world soon to be dominated by the recorded and the fabricated. You climb aboard, the canvas flap pulled tight against the biting wind, and feel the vehicle lurch forward into the gathering dusk. You are heading north, towards a quiet sector of the front, about to make it the loudest, most threatening, and most completely imaginary place on the Western Front. The truck lurches to a stop, its brakes groaning in the damp night air. The journey has been a bone-jarring crawl under strict blackout conditions, a slow procession of phantom warriors moving toward their stage. You hop down from the canvas-covered rear, your boots sinking into soft, cold mud. The order comes down the line, passed in low voices. 10-minute halt. Check the loads. This is your world now. A place of shadows and whispers. You don't check ammunition crates or fuel cans. You check the security of your illusions. You walk to the vehicle behind yours, a flatbed carrying what looks like enormous folded canvas tarps, heavy and inert. To the uninitiated, it's a puzzling cargo. To you, it's an armored company. This is the heart of your deception, the visual lie you will soon plant in the German countryside. These are the tools of your strange trade. With a few other men, you unlash a corner of one of the bundles. The smell hits you first, the cold, chemical scent of vulcanized rubber and fresh paint. This is the perfume of the Ghost Army. You pull back the canvas cover, revealing the densely packed form of an M4 Sherman tank, deflated and folded like a collapsed lung. It takes 4 of you to wrestle one of these 90-pound bundles to the ground. Then comes the compressor, a small, gasoline-powered engine whose chugging sound is quickly muffled by your sergeant. A thick hose is connected, a valve is turned, and the creature begins to take shape. It's a bizarre and almost comical act of creation. The hiss of compressed air is the sound of a war machine being born, not in a Detroit factory from steel and fire, but here in a muddy field from air and rubber. First, the turret swells, lopsided and wrinkled. Then the hull fills out, the rubber skin stretching taut, the painted-on shadows and highlights acquiring a strange, three-dimensional life under the weak moonlight. In 15 minutes, where there was only a patch of mud, now sits a 60-ton illusion, perfect in every detail down to the counterfeit unit markings stenciled on its turret. You give it a light kick. The rubber thumps with a dull, hollow sound, a tank division born of breath and rubber. Your deception, however, is more than just a collection of oversized parade floats. It's an ecosystem of falsehood. Your unit's visual deception specialists, many of them former artists and set designers, understand that an army leaves traces. So you don't just inflate a tank, you give it a history. A real 30-ton Sherman is brought forward, one of the few your unit actually possesses, and driven in wide, looping patterns around the designated assembly area. It churns the earth, leaving the deep, unmistakable tracks of an entire armored column. You and your comrades then carefully place the inflatable decoys within these tracks, perfectly aligned, as if they had just parked there. You use bulldozers to carve fake tank emplacements and slit trenches, scattering dirt convincingly. From the air to a German reconnaissance pilot flying at 3,000 feet, the scene will be indistinguishable from a genuine staging area. The level of detail is obsessive. There are inflatable artillery pieces, inflatable jeeps, even inflatable quarter-ton trucks. Every piece is a lie, but together they tell a compelling, tactical truth. While you wrestle with the rubber behemoths, another team is deploying the second pillar of your phantom army: sound. You see them positioning the sonic half-tracks, their rear compartments dominated by massive horn speakers. These are the instruments of your orchestra, and the men operating them are the maestros of acoustic warfare. Tucked away inside the vehicle is a state-of-the-art wire recorder, a fragile and temperamental piece of equipment loaded with the sounds of war. These aren't generic Hollywood sound effects. The recordings were made with painstaking care by engineers from Bell Labs, captured at Fort Knox during real maneuvers. They are a library of military life, categorized and cross-referenced. You've heard the reels yourself, the metallic clatter of an engineering battalion building a pontoon bridge, the distinct cough and roar of Sherman tank engines starting in sequence, the rumble of a column on the move, even the muffled shouts of officers and the casual profanity of enlisted men. The system is powerful enough that its soundscape can be clearly heard up to 5 miles away. The sonic engineers don't just play a single track, they mix them. They can layer the sound of an approaching tank column over the distant percussion of an artillery battery preparing to fire, creating a rich, multi-dimensional acoustic environment. Tonight, their job will be to project the sound of 2 divisions unloading, assembling, and preparing for a river crossing. It's an incredibly complex performance. Not exactly a deep-fake video, but the Ghost Army's radio spoof has a similarly creepy effect on enemy intelligence gathering. Get the timing wrong, play the sound of trucks arriving after the sound of men digging in, and a savvy German listening post might detect the fraud. But get it right, and you create an unshakable belief in the enemy's mind that they are facing an imminent, overwhelming assault. The third and most subtle weapon is now being deployed. You see the radio operators unspooling wire, hoisting antennae into the skeletal branches of the trees. This is the 3,132nd Signal Company's special, the voice of the Ghost Army. Their mission is spoof radio. They will become the 30th and 79th Infantry Divisions in the ether. Each radio operator in the Army has a unique fist, a distinctive rhythm and style of tapping out Morse code. The men of the 3,132nd have spent weeks studying and mastering the fists of the operators in the real divisions they are impersonating. When they begin broadcasting, their transmissions will be indistinguishable from the genuine article. They work from scripts, creating an intricate web of counterfeit radio traffic. A supply sergeant from a phantom battalion complains about a delayed shipment of socks. An artillery spotter for a non-existent battery calls in practice coordinates. A company commander in a rubber tank radios a fake report to a fictional headquarters. Most of it is deliberately mundane, the routine chatter that constitutes 99% of military communication. It's this texture of normalcy that makes the deception credible. You realize that you're not just building a fake army, you are giving it a soul, a voice, and a daily routine. The costuming department for this production had a very limited... You stand back for a moment, the halt almost over. Around you, in the gloom, is the most bizarre army ever assembled. Rubber tanks sit silently, waiting for an audience. Speaker trucks are poised to unleash a symphony of carefully curated chaos. Antennas hum with weaponized fiction. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built, layer by layer. Every element is designed to fool a different enemy's sense. The eyes of their pilots, the ears of their acoustic rangers, the receivers of their intelligence officers. Your mission is to sell a lie so complete, so utterly convincing, that the German High Command will move real divisions, fire real artillery, and expend real resources to counter a threat that is nothing more than air, noise, and radio waves. The order comes to mount up. The real show is about to begin. The engine cuts out, and the silence that follows is profound, almost liquid. It pools in the darkness, broken only by the drip of water from pine branches and the soft crunch of your boots on the forest floor. You have arrived. This is the stage, a carefully selected stretch of land near the German town of Viersen, miles north of the real action at Remagen. It's a deliberately quiet sector, a place the Germans are not expecting a major offensive. Your job is to change their expectations. You are the advance party for an army of ghosts, and your first task is to build their city. Under the command of Colonel Harry L. Reeder, a man who understands the theatricality of war, you and the other 1,100 men of the 23rd begin the painstaking process of creating a bridgehead for 30,000 phantoms. You move with a quiet efficiency born of practice. There is no shouting of orders, only the low murmur of instructions. The darkness is your greatest ally. Teams disperse, each with a specific role in this grand construction. Your squad is assigned to a patch of open ground designated as a tank assembly area. The compressors are brought out, their engines now wrapped in blankets to dampen the sound, and the rubber monsters are once again brought to life. The hiss of air is a conspiratorial whisper in the night. One by one, the M4 Shermans and M10 tank destroyers inflate, their silhouettes rising against the slightly less black sky. They are positioned with geometric precision, just as a real armor unit would arrange itself. Another team is tasked with artillery. They unroll the inflatable 155mm long tom cannons, propping them up with wooden supports and draping them with camouflage netting. From the air, they will cast the perfect shadow. From the ground, they are hollow shells, lighter than the men who assemble them. This is more than just scattering decoys. You are creating an entire military ecosystem. A fake command post is established, complete with a deflated jeep parked outside and a thin wire antenna rising from a camouflaged tent. In another area, a team sets up a dummy aid station. The level of detail is almost absurd. You help string up mock telephone wires between trees, connecting phantom headquarters to non-existent companies. You paint direction. To complete the illusion, you and your comrades become actors. You remove your own unit patches and replace them with the shoulder sleeve insignia of the divisions you are impersonating. The few real vehicles you possess have their bumpers repainted with the correct markings. When you move about during the day, you do so with the deliberate, casual swagger of men who belong here. A few men are sent to the nearby towns, instructed to talk loosely in cafes, dropping hints about a big push coming soon. It's a performance within a performance. You wear the skin of another unit, knowing that your own true insignia, a prowling sphinx, remains hidden beneath. Historians still debate the granular effectiveness of these individual tricks, questioning whether a single German soldier was truly fooled by a fake shoulder patch. But deception isn't about one trick. It's about the overwhelming weight of 1,000 small lies, creating a reality too comprehensive to question. The strategic purpose behind this elaborate play is Operation Flashpoint. While you are here, convincing the Wehrmacht that a massive crossing is imminent at this northern position, General William H. Simpson's 9th Army is preparing to do it for real, much further south. Every German artillery shell that lands here on your inflatable cannons is one less shell aimed at Simpson's men. Every German panzer division that moves to counter your Phantom Army is one less division available to crush the real bridgehead. You are a tactical sinkhole designed to absorb the enemy's attention and resources. It's a strange feeling to work so hard to become a target. You are inviting the storm, hoping it breaks over your empty field so that it spares the crowded city. Suddenly, a new sound cuts through the night, the high, thin drone of a lone aircraft. Instantly, the order is passed. Fritz is up! Freeze! Everything stops. The whisper of the compressors ceases. Men flatten themselves against the earth or press into the shadows of the pines. You hold your breath, your heart hammering against your ribs. You stare up at the blackness, trying to pick out the shape of the German reconnaissance plane. He is the audience. This entire performance is for him. You imagine the grainy black and white photographs his camera is taking. Over the course of 48 hours, you transform several square miles of German countryside into the temporary home of over 600 Phantom vehicles. Dummy supply dumps are created from piles of empty crates and camouflaged tarps. You even create the illusion of artillery fire. Teams are equipped with devices that produce a bright flash and a loud bang, simulating a muzzle blast, while recordings of shells passing overhead are played on the sonic trucks. It's a flash and crash show for any enemy spotters. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, every element is placed with purpose, building the lie, layer by layer. The visual deception is now complete. The radio deception is weaving its web of chatter through the ether. The stage is set. The actors are in costume, and the audience is watching. But the theater is still quiet. All the pieces are in place for the main event, the part of the illusion that will travel for miles and shake the enemy's resolve. The silence is the final component, a held breath before the performance begins, a deep, manufactured quiet waiting to be shattered. The silence has a weight to it. It's not the peaceful quiet of a countryside at rest, but a tense, coiled stillness, the moment before a thunderclap. You are crouched in a shallow listening post, the damp earth seeping cold through the knees of your trousers. Your job, for now, is simply to exist, to be one more ghost in a Phantom Army. You check your watch, its phosphorescent dial glowing a faint, sickly green. The second hand sweeps with agonizing slowness. Everything is ready. The rubber tanks are in place, the fake insignias are on your shoulders, the radio men are hunched over their keys, ready to breathe life into the ether. Now comes the main event. The signal is not a flare or a bugle call, but a quiet click and a whispered word over a field telephone, passed from the command tent to the sonic half-tracks hidden under camouflage nets. Then it begins. Not with a bang, but with a clank. From a speaker half a mile to your left, a metallic, percussive sound rings out into the night. It is the unmistakable noise of a Bailey bridge panel being dropped onto a stack of others. It's followed by the grinding groan of a winch and the muffled shouts of men. This is the sound of combat engineers at work, the first and most crucial element of any river crossing. The sound is directional, expertly projected to seem as if it's coming from the riverbank itself. A German acoustic ranging unit miles away will hear this. Their technicians will press headphones to their ears, their needles will jump, and they will begin to triangulate the position of what they can only assume is the start of a major construction effort. The first note in your symphony of destruction has been played. You listen, a strange mix of pride and anxiety knotting in your stomach. This is your unit's masterpiece. The sonic officer in charge, a man who was a sound engineer for NBC radio before the war, is not a commander, but a conductor with a stopwatch for a baton and a mixing board for a score. He begins to layer the sounds. Over the engineering noises, a new track fades in. The low rumble of heavy trucks arriving in a column. The recording is so pristine, you can almost feel the vibration.
The performance is not static.
It is a narrative told in sound. The sonic trucks are not all playing the same thing. They work in concert, creating a landscape of noise. The speakers are spread out over a wide area, and by adjusting the volume and fading between them, the engineers can create the illusion of movement. A column of tanks appears to rumble for miles along a road, its sound passing from one speaker to the next. A company of men seems to march from an assembly area toward the front, their shouted commands and marching feet fading as they move away. It's a terrifyingly sophisticated sleight of hand. The men behind the mixing boards are effectively DJs for the apocalypse, spinning and cross-fading the deadliest single of 1945. It's a job that exists nowhere in a standard military field manual. Now the conductor brings in the armor. A single Sherman tank engine coughs to life, its distinctive radial engine catching with a guttural roar. Then another and another. Soon, the air is filled with the sound of an entire armored battalion starting its engines, a chorus of grinding metal and raw horsepower that seems to shake the very trees. The volume swells, an overwhelming wave of sound that blots out the natural noises of the night. This is the sound the German High Command fears most. A panzer spearhead's worst nightmare, an unstoppable concentration of Allied armor preparing to punch through their lines and race for Berlin. And it is all coming from a 500-pound speaker array mounted on the back of a half-track. It's the ultimate bluff, and a thought brings a slight smile to your face. Your most powerful weapon isn't a cannon, but a well-produced lie. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the Ghost Army's illusions are elaborately built layer by layer, and sound is only one part of the sensory assault. As the sonic chaos reaches its peak, the radio men of the 3132nd begin their own performance. Their scripted conversations now match the sounds you are hearing. A fake radio operator in a Phantom tank battalion calls headquarters. Jaguar 6, this is Jaguar 1. All vehicles are running, awaiting orders to move to final assembly point. Over. Another transmission, filled with convincing static, has a fictional engineering captain requesting more bridging equipment. These transmissions fly out into the ether, caught by German listening posts, where they will be transcribed, translated, and analyzed. The audio evidence now corroborates the radio evidence. The lie is becoming an unassailable truth. How could an enemy intelligence officer, presented with reports from his acoustic rangers and his radio intercept teams, conclude anything other than the fact that he is facing the combined might of 2 American divisions? The sheer volume is staggering. You feel it in your chest, a physical pressure. The air vibrates with the ghosts of machines and the recorded echoes of men. The symphony is reaching its crescendo, the sounds of tanks maneuvering, artillery primers being seated, and thousands of men preparing for battle all merge into one terrifying roar. You are inside the illusion, a single, living man in the center of a storm of sound. You know it's fake. You saw the speakers being set up. You helped unfold the rubber tanks, yet the animal part of your brain screams that you are in the middle of a massive army on the verge of a bloody attack. You can only imagine what it must feel like miles away, on the other side of the river. To a German soldier in a foxhole, this isn't a recording. It is the sound of his world about to end. And that fear is the entire point. Now you just have to wait and see if fear prompts a response. You scan the horizon, listening past the wall of your own noise for a new sound, the whistle of incoming shells. The wall of sound is so thick, it feels like a physical barrier. You are inside a hurricane of noise, a maelstrom of manufactured chaos that has been raging for hours. Your own thoughts are drowned out by the recorded roars of Sherman tanks and the phantom shouts of non-existent GIs. You have become accustomed to it, the way a factory worker grows deaf to the clang of machinery. The deception is a living thing now, breathing its cacophony into the German night. You huddle in your foxhole, not out of fear, but because it is your assigned post. You are a sentry, guarding a lie. The objective was to get the enemy's attention. Now you wait, listening with an intensity that transcends hearing, for a sign that they have taken the bait. It comes as a sound that does not belong. It is not on any of the wire recordings. It is a high, piercing whistle that slices through the recorded din, a sound that seems to tear a hole in the fabric of the night. It grows from a faint shriek to a deafening rush, like an express train bearing down on your position. There is no time to think, only to react. You flatten yourself against the cold, damp earth at the bottom of your foxhole, hands clasped over the back of your neck, your helmet pressed into the dirt. The world outside your small hole vanishes, replaced by a primal, all-consuming anticipation of impact. The explosion is not a sound, it is a concussion. The ground heaves beneath you, a violent, physical blow that slams you against the packed dirt. A flash of brilliant, searing white light illuminates the underside of your helmet for a fraction of a second, followed by an utter, profound blackness. The roar of the detonation is a physical force that vibrates through your bones. Dirt, stones, and superheated metal fragments rain down around you. You taste grit in your mouth. The air is suddenly thick with the acrid metallic smell of cordite, a scent that instantly overwrites the earthy smell of the forest. The sonic half-track nearest you continues to play its recording of idling tank engines, an absurdly mundane soundtrack to the very real violence that has just erupted. Slowly, you raise your head, peering over the lip of the foxhole. A lull, just for a moment. You risk another look. In the intermittent light of the explosions, you see a scene of surreal carnage. One of your prize inflatable Sherman tanks, meticulously placed just 50 yards away, has taken a direct hit. It hasn't exploded or burned. Instead, it has simply died. The great rubber beast lies on its side, a gaping shrapnel wound in its turret, deflating with a long, sad hiss. It looks less like a destroyed war machine and more like a discarded child's toy, a bizarre monument to your own strange war. It's a sight so ludicrous you almost let out a laugh, a bubble of hysteria rising in your throat. A 60-ton war machine, killed by a piece of flying metal, sighing its last breath into the mud. The shelling becomes methodical. The German gunners, convinced they are targeting a massive assembly of armor and infantry, are laying down a systematic barrage. They are firing on your Ghost Division with the cold, calculated fury of professional soldiers. You can hear the shells marching across the landscape, seeking out the fictional command posts, the rubber artillery batteries, the hollow tank destroyers. You press yourself into the earth, making yourself as small as possible, and you feel the true, unnerving nature of your job settle over you. You are not a warrior, you are a target. Your purpose is not to fight, but to be shot at. Every shell that lands here, chewing up a patch of empty German soil or shredding a rubber decoy, is a victory. It's a shell that isn't landing on the real bridgehead at Remagen. It is not killing the combat engineers or the infantrymen of the 9th Armored. Your survival is secondary to the success of the illusion.
You think of the men around you,
The architects, admen, and artists huddled in their own holes. You are an army of creatives, men who once designed department store window displays and painted watercolors, now using your talents to draw the fire of an 88mm cannon. There is a quiet ongoing debate among military historians about the psychological toll this unique role took on the men of the 23rd. You aren't trained for this kind of passive endurance. You have no weapon to fire back, no enemy to charge. Your only defense is the integrity of your foxhole and the mathematics of probability. The enemy isn't aiming at you. They are aiming at a phantom you helped create. It's a strangely impersonal form of mortal danger. For 20 minutes, the sky rips open again and again. You don't count the shells. You simply endure them. The sonic trucks, miraculously, continue their broadcast, their operators hunched over their equipment in reinforced dugouts. The symphony of deception provides a bizarre counterpoint to the symphony of real destruction. The recorded sounds of an army preparing to attack are interwoven with the live sounds of that same fake army being systematically blown apart. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, the illusion is maintained, even as it is physically assaulted, the layers of deception holding firm under fire. Then, as abruptly as it began, it stops. The last whistle fades, the last explosion echoes and dies. A profound, ringing silence descends, broken only by the continued, monotonous rumble from the speakers and the distant, almost gentle hiss of your deflating tank. You have done it. You have become a more convincing target than the real thing. The ghosts have drawn blood, or at least they have drawn fire, and in this strange, inverted war, that is the only victory that matters. The silence that descends is heavier than the noise it replaced. The last recording sputters out, the sound of a phantom tank column grinding to a halt in the middle of a muddy field that exists only on a wire spool. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, the only sounds are the drip of water from the trees and a persistent, high-pitched ringing in your own ears. The German guns have fallen silent. The performance is over. You slowly, stiffly push yourself up and climb out of your foxhole. The morning is breaking, a reluctant grey light filtering through the skeletal trees, revealing the aftermath of your phantom battle. The air is still sharp with the ghost of cordite. The field is a mess, pockmarked with fresh, steaming craters, the dark earth turned inside out. It looks like a real battlefield, scarred by real explosions. You walk over to the fallen Sherman, the one you saw take a direct hit. Its rubber skin is peppered with dozens of small, sharp holes, and one large, ragged tear gapes open where the turret meets the hull. It lies there like a beached whale, its form collapsed, its illusion shattered. An officer comes over, inspects the damage, and then says something that would be utterly insane in any other unit on any other front. Get the patch kits. She's fixable. And so your morning is spent not clearing casualties or collecting brass, but performing battlefield surgery on a balloon. You and two other men kneel in the mud with vulcanizing glue and rubber patches, meticulously sealing the shrapnel holes. It feels more like fixing a bicycle tire than cleaning up after a battle, a strangely domestic chore amidst the evidence of lethal force. This is the quiet absurdity of your war. Later in the day, the official word comes down. The deception was a resounding success. German intelligence, piecing together the reports from their reconnaissance planes, their radio intercepts, and the sheer, overwhelming evidence from their own ears, had become utterly convinced. They believed the 30th and 79th Divisions were massing for a major assault north of Remagen. Wehrmacht communiques from the period, discovered after the war, confirm that German...
taking them by
And now
surprise.
your final and perhaps most important mission begins. You must vanish. The 23rd Headquarters Special Troops has to disappear as completely as the army it just pretended to be. An army leaves a trail,
Quietly and with
and your
purpose.
job is to erase it. You deflate the tanks, folding them carefully into their canvas bags. The long tom cannons are collapsed, their wooden supports stacked. The speakers on the sonic trucks are covered, the precious wire recordings secured in their padded boxes. You walk the perimeter, picking up every stray piece of your unit's equipment, every discarded ration tin, every scrap of paper. You even fill in the foxholes you just dug. The goal is to leave the forest and the fields exactly as you found them, save for the craters from the German artillery, the only tangible proof that you were ever here. The ultimate success of a ghost is not in its appearance, but in its seamless disappearance. This is the strange legacy you will carry. While other men will go home with stories of battles won and towns liberated, your war stories are classified. You will be sworn to an oath of secrecy that will not be lifted for more than 40 years. You, a man who helped command a symphony of deception loud enough to be heard for miles, will be required to remain silent. Historians will pore over the records of the final push into Germany, but your unit's name, the 23rd, will be a footnote at best, its true contributions hidden in redacted reports. The full impact of the Ghost Army remains a subject of quiet debate, a tantalizing mystery woven into the larger tapestry of the war. Its successes were, by their very nature, designed to be credited to others. Like the meticulous detail of a stage, your final act is to strike the set, leaving the audience to wonder what was real and what was not. You climb into the back of a truck, the last vehicle to leave. As you pull away, you look back at the clearing. It is empty. The torn earth is the only thing that whispers of the phantom battle fought here. The wind rustles through the pines, a quiet, natural sound in a place recently filled with the artifice of war. You created an army from breath and sound, made it a target, and then packed it away in boxes. You fought the war not with a bayonet, but with an idea. The story of these phantom soldiers does not end with the sound of a final fading engine, but rather recedes into the quiet libraries and sealed archives where so much of our shared past resides. You can imagine the men of the 23rd returning to their civilian lives. The sound engineers and artists and architects carrying with them a secret knowledge of a war fought with imagination. Their greatest creations documented only in the memories they were forbidden to share.
Wonderful work.
Their battlefield was
Wonderful
the
work.
enemy's mind. Their victories were the battles that never happened, the lives that were not lost. And as the years turned to decades, the truth of their strange and brilliant service
Operation Fortitude,
slowly
sonic
emerges,
deception,
not as a
and
sudden
the 23rd
revelation,
Headquarters
but as a
Special
whispered
Troops.
story, a declassified document, a quiet acknowledgement of the profound power of a well-told lie. The ghosts of the Rhine eventually fade, their duty done, leaving us to contemplate the silent, invisible currents that so often shape the course of history, reminding us that sometimes the most powerful weapon is the one that is never truly there.